Hello, everyone. This is Chala Dinkoy, CEO and founder of the Repositioning Expert, coming to you live with another Tuesday Tea Time with Chala. And you may notice that the resolution of the video is perfect because I decided to do this before anybody gets home. I might have to change the timing of the 3:30 because I'm doing it at noon and bright as anything. So like last Tuesday tea time, my team and I were talking about, should we redo it? Should we do it? I mean, it loses something from the spontaneity for sure. I mean, this is a live stream, but it was so fragmented. It looked like I was actually streaming from Mars or something. It looked like I was on the spaceship. It was horrible, but good news. So this is amazing. I'm just so glad to be back to everything. I've actually, the fact that I was going to go and travel and speak and be with actual human beings after 3 years, I went and bought new clothes. I have a whole new wardrobe that fits and that I love, that has all, it's all for the summer. It's got all the vibrant colors, and I'm wearing one today. I'm just so stoked to be out and about. And I wanted to talk to you about the new reality, the new normal of conferencing, based on what I saw in the 2 weeks ago when I was in Atlanta. So I just thought it was, maybe it's a function of the level of professionalism of the WeBank, which is a government entity, in how they ran the show and how big it was. But I just wanted to take you through some of the changes that I noted that you can definitely expect for when you're traveling and when you're going to a conference, and some advice around what to do and how to navigate those things. So let me just take a sip. And in other good news, let me just take a sip. I actually went through the process of hiring myself a new fitness coach, and I have a coach for everything, and I have a fitness coach now. And my issue was, and I'd been quietly, and over a period of the last 6 months, I've been interviewing different coaches to help me get to my goals because I'm stalled. I tried to do stuff on my own. I tried to read and learn and listen to webinars and podcasts. And I have already hired like 5 different coaches throughout my life for fitness. And guess what, you guys? I couldn't do it on my own. I tried the reverse diet before, I think it was during Christmas. And then I tried to, cut again with everything that I had learned and knew and had paid thousands of dollars to learn. And it didn't work because, for whatever reason, whatever's going on with my, hormones or thyroid or, digestive system, which I think they're fine. I have no symptoms of anything, but we don't know. We have to do the blood testing and everything. So it's the first person that I found who is actually going to be doing that kind of testing in Canada, because he's actually in Toronto, but I'm just bowled over by this coach who it used to be a personal trainer, and the funnels this guy has, the amazing, they contacted me no less than 4 times before the call to make sure that I was going to show up to the call. And the whole sales sequence has been so phenomenal. And I learned something. Me, the guru of sales, who sells at the 30K, 50K level of packages, actually learned something when I asked to speak to a past client or a current client who's in the same situation that I am. Even though their business is a lot more personal, and it's very, privacy laws are, reign supreme, they were able to get me to speak to one person, and I'm waiting to speak to another person. But what they asked for is a deposit before letting me do that. And I love that, because I've had so many prospects who have wasted so much time for my clients and my past clients, who have kindly and out of love for me and regard for me have given up their time to give all sorts of information about what it was like to work with me, and then have decided to go another way. And it was such a waste. So to me, this really solidifies if somebody's truly interested, and the reason why they're holding off is because they just have to check a box in their mind of doing due diligence. And I've been burned, just like I'm sure you have, by coaches in the past or even fitness programs that didn't work, so that I wanted to just make sure to do my due diligence to talk to at least two people who were in the same boat and what their experience was and what to expect and really what they recommend and if there's any red flags. So I just thought, this is such an amazing story. I even thought about doing the whole Tuesday tea time about their whole intake process and what I learned and what I teach and what I do myself and do a reflection on that. But maybe we'll do that another week. I just think, and it was brilliant and it worked. I definitely have some, notes for them. And, if they're interested, I can share the Tuesday tea time with them. But yeah, it's been a great process. So let's get back to the new normal of conferences. Nothing is the same in business post-COVID, nothing. And why should conferences be different? So as you know, I spoke at a conference and it was in Atlanta. It was 2 weeks ago and I learned a lot. So here's what I learned. And this is obviously only from my lens, and it's only based on the one conference that I attended, which was the largest conference that I've attended so far this year because it's the only one. And also it's one of the bigger ones that I normally go to. Let me take another sip. And of course it's protein, just so you know. I'm going to have to make it Tuesday protein time with Chala. Okay. So the first thing that I learned that I've talked to you guys about is that the travel is more painful, at least if you're doing it internationally. And I just spoke to a client this morning. She's actually going to be a guest testimonial because she aced her sales meeting and got a huge contract. So what she was saying is she actually went to Barcelona and she got COVID while she was there and she had to stay there and work while she was sick in a hotel in Barcelona for another 2 weeks. So internationally, I'm coming from Canada to the US, it is more complicated. And the US, has this mandate where you have to, from internationally, you have to do a quick test, a rapid test. And my biggest concern when I'm traveling is to check in right away and secure a seat. Because if you guys remember that whole poor Asian doctor who was beaten and taken off the flight because it was oversold. And then, it made the news. Ever since that incident, I've noticed that I get into a real, tizzy if I actually don't book my actual, if you don't check into the flight, they don't save unless you purchase a seat and you're upgraded. They don't actually save your seat. You're actually just like one of those poor guys who would have to, lose a seat, even if you've had the reservation for months and months and months and you've paid full fare. It makes no difference. Every airline does it. They can bump you, and that's the only way to get in. So what I noticed after COVID traveling is you cannot check in without the actual rapid test upload. So it was the middle of it was like 8 a.m. and I was rushing to find a place that would do it that early. So it was just extra complications, extra time. Now, there, maybe it's just Pearson, because it appeared that the Atlanta airport was not in the same kind of chaos, but at our airport, there's legendary lineups and, there's luggage delays. So for the first time ever, I wore the same jacket for 4 days in a row and the same pair of shoes to work out and to actually, be on the trade show floor, which I normally would never do. So because I had to fit everything into a carry-on. So the big learning there was things are different. I have to simplify things. I have to pare things down so that I can walk through everything, the security, all the checkpoints, and avoid the lineups. So travel is just more painful, at least internationally. So that's the new normal of conferencing. So at least sadly for me. The second is we actually had mandatory at the conference organizers mandated mandatory COVID testing daily and or showing the actual same vaccination papers, proof of vaccination, to be able to get a different band every day. a different colored band, and you could not uh, enter the conference area, and you could not um, get onto the shuttle, board the shuttle bus that took us from our hotels into the conference. So I thought that was a really interesting, great way to try to keep us safe. And you know, I don't know if it worked. I mean, we had some actual cases there, and that's part of the new normal is the conference updates. But I'll get to that at the end. So yeah, so that there was some form of health check, definitely around that. Number three, the new normal for conferencing is new technology. And oh, I forgot to bring it, but I now have this giant. It's called an Uvo card, and what it is it's a metal business card with my name and the name of my company on it, that when you tap it onto the back of the cell phone, it brings up, my page with my information, which allows the other person to trade their information. Now, I thought I was, the cat's meow. I thought this is amazing. And a lot of people were amazed. A lot of people did find it very interesting, and it started a conversation. But I found that a lot of other people, in fact, had been told by the conference not to bring anything paper. And so they actually had gotten a QR code on their phone, and they themselves were asking other people to scan their QR code. So, the business card era was kind of on the way out. But then everybody had backups, because when I did my speech, and I often give away, Canadian ice wine chocolate with my book, Gentle Marketing, as a draw. And I ask for people to put their cards in to a bag there. And then we gave them extra paper for them to fill out their names if they didn't have it. There was only like 3 or 4. Most people had their cards. So it was just brilliant. Like, everybody was prepared to be able to do both. The other new tech that was really cool was we were on something called soundless mics. And I don't know if I ever talked to you about this, but I'd never seen this before. What it is it's a microphone that the speaker on the stage is speaking to, but the people in the audience don't hear you except if they're wearing earbuds, and they're either connected through the earbuds and through a Zoom, which is on a QR code and a Zoom link. So think about all the technology that you have to be able to figure out, and that your personal technology has to be up to date to be able to deliver, right? And then, of course, there was the Wi-Fi that was in this, what they called a cement box, because of course, the conference center is, I guess, made out of cement, and it's giant, it's ginormous, and it's got many corners where not everything is working perfectly. So there was a lot of technology. It was super cool, and it had a lot of benefits, but it had a lot of glitches too. So a lot of people were having trouble hearing. And I know a lot of people told me that they had trouble hearing me because it kept cutting out. So, the new tech is kind of the new normal. And the handouts and paper, they just try to eliminate that altogether. So especially, when you were talking to large companies, they wanted you to send them stuff electronically. They did not want to, they never have, let's be honest, they have never wanted to carry around a deck of cards or a deck of papers, of capability statements. They've always admitted to me privately that they dispose of it as soon as they can. But now everything is all electronic. Everything is expected to be electronic, and you better know how to download one, upload one, and navigate that whole world, because that is the new normal of conferencing. So I'm drinking protein hot chocolate, and I always wonder after, and I drink it throughout my calls with my clients. So I'm always thinking, do I have like a chocolate mustache? But I'm sure you'll tell me, right? Okay, so the fourth thing that I noticed as the new normal of conferencing was nervousness. And maybe that's just me, but I just thought, and I had a lot of people ask me this, of people that I knew, when we saw each other again after 2-3 years, we were like, is it okay to hug? Do we, elbow bump? Do we fist bump? Do we, handshake? what is it that we do? So there was that kind of awkwardness. And I thought, there was still fear. There was still nervousness because we were asked to line up at the buffet for all the food with masks all the time. So if you didn't even have a mask, they were providing one. So things weren't all back to normal. And now I've talked to clients where they've been to large conferences where things are exactly like, time machine back in time, like COVID never existed. But this one, for whatever reason, maybe because they're just better organized, or maybe because they're more sensitive to people's needs of every kind, or maybe because they're a government organization, or maybe because they're women's organization. I have no idea. More empathetic, but these were some of the changes that I've seen from other conferences in the past, and it was very interesting. So interesting. Now, the next point was that everything was leaner and simpler. So, for example, the trade show and the breakouts were combined for simplicity. It used to be that you would be at this large conference center, and there would be different rooms set up for different breakouts of different speakers like me. And they would have a full-on microphone where they'd be screaming and yelling. And in fact, sometimes you could hear the other people in the other breakout laughing and applauding. And you'd always get jealous if they got more laughs and claps, right? So, but now everything, and then you would have a whole other trade show part where you would then tour all the trade show. And for whatever reason, it was simplified this year. And I think it was great, with the exception of the sound system not having to be combined and having to be silent microphones to enable people to keep talking at their booths. That was the only complication. And then at this conference, at least the after party was skipped. And, I wonder whether that was to avoid the proximity, or if it was just a different, different format, because we had performers up on stage during, and interspersed with the awards. So that was kind of neat. That was very, very Oscar-like. But things were leaner and simpler. It just seemed like things were just like more to the point. A lot of matchmakers were taken away, and only roundtables were included, which were called meet and greets. So again, everything's trying to get simplified. Everything's trying to, it's just one less, moving part for people to have to figure out how to meet, how to apply to meet, and then where to meet and what to say. Instead, this was, again, a big table full of other vendors where, the buyer would be introduced to all the vendors, and then the vendors get to meet each other as well. The next point that I noticed was that there was less attendance. And this I'd heard from a lot of organizers. I'd heard from a lot of, my clients when they look at the actual numbers, and there were less people. And I actually targeted and spoke to so many people who were WBEs on LinkedIn, and almost, 1 out of 3 said they weren't going. And so I was really concerned. I was like, oh my God, how many people are actually coming? But there was, a lot of people. I think one organizer told me 3,500 people, and normally they get 5,000. But it was still a time that they don't normally do it, which is June. And there were so many excuses of all the women. I said, well, okay, why aren't you coming? Why aren't you coming? Are you nervous? So some admitted to being nervous about being with a lot of people. Others just said, it's just a bad time for schools. Others said it was a vacation. So there was a lot more excuses. So I just found that the people that really wanted to be there were there. The people that were serious about their business, that, wanted to prioritize their business, they really were there. And that's why it was a good conference. Another point that I noticed was the post-COVID reports. Remember what I was telling you is, and again, this could be because the organization is so buttoned down, and because they're so, they're a government organization, is there was, weekly reports of how many people got it, not exactly the names, but sort of identifying, that it was the photographer. And I'm not sure if there's any tracing, but I know for a fact that one of my clients got it. So, and she had said that she hadn't been vaccinated, but she was fine because she was healthy. So she was just, a little heavy cold. So the post-COVID reporting is also very interesting because, again, the number one focus is on health, of course. And lastly, and this is the best part, is there was more sincerity and dedication because those who truly prioritize being there, as I said, were there. And the people that were there were starved for contact and networking. And in fact, that's why the organizers of this event turned it into more of a networking thing. And I think it worked out beautifully. I came away with a ton of new contacts, ton of new business, ton of new opportunities, and I can't wait to continue this trend. And I will report back to you to see if the new normal of conferences is going to continue with the other conferences that I'll be going to, because of course my niche is diversity, diverse businesses. So all of the conferences that I'll be speaking at and attending will be diverse conferences, and they are all government affiliated organizations. So it's going to be interesting to see the variations and the accommodations and the differences. Nothing is the same as it was from before COVID. Why should conferences be any different? But it's not all bad, you guys. It's not all bad. So that's me today for Tuesday Tea Time with Chala. Look at how clear the screen. I'm like, maybe I should definitely move this to like lunch with Chala, breakfast with Chala, because it looks like, this is the clearest visuals that I've had. I'm really going to try to do this earlier in the day, you guys. Okay, we'll catch you next week. All the best, everyone.